Okay, class, we're now ready to talk about hair. We're ready to talk about hair. Okay, let me make a couple of preliminary statements. I'm going to say hair is really a form of skin. Hair is really a form of skin. It was formed from the skin. Hair is harder than your skin. Let's go with it again. Hair is harder than your skin. The reason is hair has keratinocytes, just like the skin did, the epidermis did. Hair has keratinocytes. But the keratin in hair is tougher than the keratin in skin. The keratin in hair is tougher than the keratin in skin. The reason for that is that it has more disulfide bridges. If you go back to the chemistry, the amino acid cysteine had sulfhydryl groups. I brought this up. The amino acid cysteine has sulfhydryl groups. The more cysteine in the keratin, the more of the amino acid cysteine in the protein keratin, the more disulfide bridges that can be formed. The more disulfide bridges, the harder is the substance. When we get to nails after hair, nails are harder than hair. Why? Because there's more cysteine and disulfide bridges in nails than is in hair, and hair than in skin. That's why if someone puts a hot, burns hair in any mean, you'll have that sulfur smell. The reason is that sulfur in the cysteine that comes out. So I just want to point that out preliminarily as we approach hair. All right. So going to hair, functions, alerting the body to the presence of, light touch. Remember? Light touch. You can move your hand over the hair and it'll move and they'll alert you. Guarding the scalp, entire surface except the palm, soles, lips, and so forth, and portions of the external genitalia. That's where you find it. Okay? Hair formation. This is what happens. Cells, remember migration and differentiation. Cells of the stratum basale migrate down into the dermis. Cells of the stratum basale migrate down into the dermis. When they migrate down into the dermis, they migrate looking for a blood vessel because you have to have a lot of blood vessel. So they migrate down trying to get a blood vessel and cup around it. You don't see that here, but they migrate down. As the cells migrate down, they change from stratum basale, differentiate, to hair matrix cells. As they migrate, stratum basale migrate down, try to tap into a blood vessel area, but the cells differentiate from stratum basale cells to hair matrix cells. And it's the hair matrix cells that are going to make the hair. So see, it's formed from the migration and differentiation. Okay? When they migrate down, they're looking for a blood vessel area there. Okay. Now, when they migrate down, they also bring some melanocytes with them because, the melanocytes would have also been there. The melanocytes are what's going to give the hair its color. However, the melanocytes, when they migrate down, don't produce as long as the skin ones. That's why the hair will turn gray. Okay? So it migrates down, and here's a blood vessel here. See, it's migrating down, but it needs to get a good blood supply, so it cups around that. So we go back here. Now, when it migrated down, it pushed the skin down. So when it pushed the skin down, here would be the connective tissue it pushed down, and here would be some other layers it pushed down. Right here. So here would be what we call the connective tissue root sheath right there. Then the glassy membrane would be more or less the basement membrane. And then you have an external root sheath. We won't get into all of this here. But when it comes down, it has several layers down here. This is under the skin. Here's the hair papillae right here, hair matrix, so forth. All right, so we go a little further. Here's that hair follicle there coming up. And see, here's an oil gland dumping into there. Here's that base of the hair. Okay. So we go further. So the hair follicle, a hair root plexus. The root plexus is a spiral nerve ending. Let me see if I see it here. It would be a spiral nerve ending. You really don't see it. That would surround the hair. That would allow you to know if you're being touched. Okay. Hair root plexus. Okay. The hair consists of dead keratinized cells. Disulfide bridges. Hair color, remember the melanocyte came down, so the color of the hair would be, because the melanocytes moved down and differentiated, the color of the hair is not the same as the color of the skin. Let me say it again. The color of the hair is not the same as the color of the skin. Now, the color of the hair depends on what kind of melanin you have, you know. And when the melanocytes give out, the hair is going to turn gray. Because then you're looking at a translucent color. Here again, as I alluded to, when the hair, when it came down, you brought those stratum, which became hair matrix cells. That used to be stratum basale cells. And then these matrix cells multiply and push hair up. But these surrounding layers here, because what you did, you brought the connective tissue down with you, so that gives you a connective tissue. You brought the basement membrane, which in hair you call the glassy membrane. Okay. You brought the external epithelial root sheath. That would have been then right here, would have been more of that stratum basale. Then you have the internal root sheath. That was produced by the hair matrix cells. Now, the hair above the head has three layers. The cuticle layer, now this would be the hair above the head, above the free edge of the hair. The free edge of the hair will have an outer cuticle layer. That outer cuticle layer is the hard layer where mainly the harder keratinocytes. Okay. Then it'll have a cortex. And the cortex is primarily where the color is. Then it'll have a medulla in the middle, and the medulla in the middle, the cells are totally dead. So the cuticle layer is on the outside. Now that's the layer above your head that has the hard keratinocytes. Then it has a cortex, and that's where the melanocytes dump their pigment in. And then the medulla is just basically just dead cells in the center. Okay. Hair follicle, hair root plexus. That's what bends, surrounded by the bending of the hair. Now the Erector Pili muscle, right here, that's an old deal that carried over from evolution. Tell you what happens. When you get nervous or frightened, the Erector Pili muscle, because the hair would be lying down, the Erector Pili muscle would come in and contract. It would make the hair stand up. Now, what would that do for the animal? It would make it look bigger. Hair is what I'm going to call a rudimentary structure. Let me say that word again. Hair is a rudimentary structure in the human. See, because we've become very mental and we can build houses and buildings, we don't need the hair to keep us warm. So therefore, if you look at it, our hair has relegated itself to a few places. Now on the skin, I'm going to show you, we have some little hair, but it's not like you would on a dog or a lower form of animal for protection and warmth and everything. So hair is gradually going away in the human. Okay. So we come here. Here again is that picture there. Okay. So layers of the hair root. The dermal root sheath is the bend down of the dermis. Okay. Dermal root sheath is the bend down of the dermis. The glassy membrane, so the dermal root sheath would be the same thing as the connective tissue root sheath. So we out here first. The glassy membrane is the bend down of the dermis. The external root sheath is the bend down of the stratum basale. The internal root sheath is formed by the hair matrix cells, composed of, don't worry about it, Huxley and Henley's layer. And then you have a cuticle layer of the internal root sheath. And the cuticle layer of the internal root sheath has it's almost like your roof, your shingles on the house. The keratinocytes are shingled downwards. And then the cuticle layer of the hair shaft, the keratinocytes are shingled upward. They dig into one another. By them digging into one another, it doesn't allow under the skin the hair to just shake in the little cup there. Then you got the cortex layer and the medulla. So the only layers that actually protrude above the skin is the cuticle layer of the hair shaft, the cortex, and medulla. All these others are under the skin. All of these others are under the skin. So here's a picture here showing what I was just saying, coming from the outside to the center. Okay. All right, we go further. That's that there. Okay, we talked about that. Here's this here, just another one. Okay, what types of hair do we have? We have vellus hair. That's fine hair, little vellus hair. That's the hair kind of on the skin there, the little vellus hair. It doesn't grow that much, so therefore it stays soft. It takes a while to get that keratin to get harder. Then we have terminal hair. That'd be like on the head, genitalia areas. It has time enough to get hard to build that keratin. In a kid, in a fetus, you have this lanugo hair when it's first born. And also in the fetus, sheds it off into the amniotic bag, so forth, lanugo hair. Okay. So we go here, the hair growth cycle. I'm going to end this video right here, and then we're going to do hair 2. We're going to do hair 2. Okay. Thank you.